We're not against the plant. The plant can be there and the community can stay.
No, I've got my deed in a house, and they tell me that that property doesn't belong to me.
The people weren't opposed to the plant. They were just opposed to the way the plant was being built.
And I don't intend to move because you con artists are trying to pull a rip-off.
Well, it was an unusual situation because of this new quick take law, which allowed the city to take private property from individuals and give it to other private interests.
General Motors says they want this land. They want it by such and such a date. And then Coleman Young says, okay, we'll give you this land by such and such a date.
The first offer they made was the city had a number of houses that they'd gotten through foreclosures, and they wanted the people in Poletown to just get one of those houses.
We are now undergoing an economic crisis.
I did like the mayor, I mean, and I still do, but I think he was also in a very difficult position trying to take care of the financial needs of the city and the unemployment problem and so forth.
The bottom line, of course, is to make this corporation as profitable as possible.
Well, Mr. McDonald, a group of businessmen recently said that they were opposed to the GM plant in Poletown, saying that it was not free enterprise, but essentially corporate socialism. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I'll tell you, when we take the property over and when we start operating there, that's free enterprise.
But you're also bulldozing the neighborhood, are you not?
We're not doing it.
They advertised the project as giving the city 6,000 jobs.
A lot of people are leery because they're saying GM is going to create all these jobs, and what has come out is that it's not going to be a job creation, but more job retention because of all the automation that's going to go on.
And I don't think they ever came even close to that. And recently, they've been operating with, I think, around 1,000 people, maybe even less than 1,000 people.
Detroit's in desperate straits, sir.
Yes, if it was in real desperate straits, they would use $300 million of the taxpayers' money to produce more jobs, more diversified small industry in Detroit, rather than giving a $320 million package to the second richest corporation in the world.
It was difficult for the people there to organize in opposition, and when Nader decided to come to Detroit, that was a big shot in the arm.
This is not capitalism, this is corporate socialism.
They started turning things around. They would do things like take tractors over to General Motors' Chairman Smith's house and demolition crew and so on to sort of impress upon them that this was what was happening to these people.
They're using the city of Detroit and the federal government to bulldoze the area and subsidize them for the privilege of making a profit.
But it worked. And the killer was when the Michigan Supreme Court decided that the statute was constitutional.
Demolition in Poletown resumed with a vengeance when the state Supreme Court okayed the project. Arson and vandalism swept through the neighborhood.
All we're trying to do is protect our homes. They've been burning houses all in this neighborhood.
The arson functioned as a way of terrorizing the neighborhood, and the rumor was that the arson was taking place because it was less expensive to demolish houses if they'd been burned. And no one was ever caught or prosecuted for the arson, which was rampant. A lot of those people had been there all their lives. I mean, they were born and raised there.
How can they give up this neighborhood, you know? It's close to stores, close to buses, close to church. It's terrible what's happening, that's all. Especially the beautiful church. Belonged to that church 45 years.
Ultimately, they were trying to save this church.
Poletown residents and supporters decided to take the law into their own hands. They moved sleeping bags into the church basement, locked the doors, and occupied the church.
When we heard this, we decided to try to go down to the church early in the morning, and I think we went down there around 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and the police were already blocking off access roads.
These people responsible for this are worse than the communists in Poland. That's the message I gave before. I guess they couldn't understand it before. They might as well get it straightened out.
They already had lined up the demolition company. And at crack of dawn, as soon as those people were out of the church, the demolition company moved in, put fences all around the place, and proceeded to demolish it. And before midnight that night, they demolished the building. Well, that certainly was the clincher. The question I kept asking was, if you had it to do over, what would you do differently? They would say things like, we should have got in the streets a lot sooner than we did. And so they learned a lot, I think. But of course, by that time, they'd lost the fight.